everybody, and welcome to the Daiwa Anglo-Japanese Foundation. My name is Jason James, and just before we start this webinar about contemporary dance, I'll run you through how we do things, and apologies if you've heard this before. So we have two speakers who are both in London, and I'm sitting at home in Cambridge. I'll just briefly introduce the two speakers. So first will be Alistair Spalding, who is the Artistic Director and Chief Executive of Sadler's Wells in London. And he's been at Sadler's Wells since 2000, took over as Chief Executive in 2004, and changed things a bit in 2005 to make Sadler's Wells a producing house. So he's driven a large number of productions since then. And he has a Lifetime Achievement Award from the International Society for the Performing Arts. And then our other speaker is Fukiko Takase, who is an American-born Japanese contemporary dancer. She has worked with a number of contemporary dance companies around the world before becoming a soloist, and she will give us details of her activities. But one thing I noticed is that she's going back to Tokyo next month to perform this work 1001, which apparently she's going to be performing on Christmas Day. But I'll leave her to give you more details of what she's up to. So we'll have about 20 minutes presentation from each of the two speakers, and then we'll open it up for Q&A with everybody else. Over to you, Alistair.
Thanks very much, and thank you for inviting me today. So I'm just going to talk briefly about three things. First of all, what the effect of the COVID crisis has been on the theatre straight away, what the initial effect was, what we've been doing in the meantime, and then a little bit about what the future looks like. So yes, in March, we had to close down once the government gave the advice that all theatres should close overnight, more or less. And we initially thought that that was going to be for, I think it was a 3-week period. And that has gradually turned into this nearly 8 months of closure, which is the longest Sadler's Wells has been closed probably in its history, but definitely since the Second World War. It's the longest closure. And that is difficult. That's an existential crisis for a theatre. You know, we gather people together, that's what we do. And that's not really healthy at the moment. So, and so overnight, we basically all stopped doing the thing we've been working on, both the people working in the theatre and the performers overnight just had to stop. And that's really had a deep psychological effect on people, actually. I have to say that's one of the things that we're dealing with. The others are more practical. So we at Sadler's Wells were 80% dependent on people coming in to the theatre financially. So that's through ticket sales and also people buying drinks, etc. at the bars. So that loss of income overnight was really critical for us. We've had to take advantage of the furlough scheme from the government. So 90% of our staff were on furlough, so not doing anything. We all had to have pay cuts of various levels, which we still are in that state. And we had to apply to, first of all, the Arts Council and then the government, who for some of these funds for the to help people during this crisis. And very luckily, we've been successful in each of those applications. So that's kept us going. Plus fundraising, which remarkably our supporters have continued to support us through all this time. And we've managed to retain some of that income. But that's all there's been, plus the Arts Council grant, which we normally get. But that's meant that we still are going, and so far we can survive until March on that basis. So, so then we had to decide more or less, well, what do we do now? What is the what is Sadler's Wells if we can't put on shows? And we decided that we would have a kind of shift of emphasis, so that obviously we decided to do lots of more work online. But we wanted to try and stay within the values and the work that we were doing. We didn't want to suddenly be something else at that time. We wanted to still be promoting dance in all its forms and creating new work if we can. But we wanted to do that in a digital environment. So we started by doing some Facebook premieres. So these were premieres of work which we shared on Facebook every Friday evening at the beginning of the crisis, so that people could look at some of the full-length works that we had in our catalogue. And you probably all were sharing some of those things from the National Theatre and other organisations, the Opera House. There was lots of digital work going out, which was the mostly focused on existing productions. Then we also started something which we hadn't ever really done, but we thought was relevant in this crisis, and that's some online dance classes. I say we don't usually do that sort of thing. We thought it would be very important at this time to do that, and we got some of our associates and other artists to lead dance classes in African, Bharatanatyam, Indian dance form, and other styles. And we particularly focused them on people who are over 60, so that they were easily performed, or you could participate in that age range, because we thought it was very important that during the time, particularly during the first lockdown, which, as you remember, was quite extreme, that we all needed to keep moving and keep healthy. So we took that decision to do that, and that proved incredibly popular. So we went into millions of views on some of those, and worldwide, of course, with some of those classes. And then we took advantage of doing some other sort of new things in the digital environment. And I want to share with you two examples of what we've done. So the first one was a work that was a response actually to the Black Lives Matter movement and the issues that arose over the summer in particular. And why I'm talking about this project is because it was an example of how normally in the theatre mode we would be unable to respond to something so quickly as that. So we wanted to say something. In theatre, it takes a long while to rehearse and to prepare a production, and also to schedule it into our schedules. But with this new digital world, we were able to commission John Z. Dee, who's the artistic director of our Breaking Convention Festival, to make a work in response. And he chose to use a poem by Jessica Care Moore, an American poet, entitled "We Want Our Bodies Back." And it was particularly focused on the issues around female response to the Black Lives Matter and some of the issues that have been experienced by particularly female dancers and other citizens in this period. And I think we're probably just going to try and show you a little clip of this so that you get an idea, because the soundtrack, if you like, is the poem. And it proved to be a very powerful piece of work, which has had over 46,000 views so far. And we're just going to show you a little clip so you get a sense of what this is.
We want our bodies back. If Black women could be cut down, no, removed gently from American terrorism, who would break our fall? Which direction will we travel to feel safe? Wild is the wind, If we could turn in this skin, these sharpened bones, this brain full of power and history, who would we resemble? Invisible doesn't come in black. How many nervous breakdowns? How many funeral black dresses? How many fibroids? How many nooses? How many of our bodies must be raped, cut into pieces, burned inside garbage bags, buried? How many of us blossom a beautiful tree of life and pray their pride isn't cut down the middle, reduced to trunks, or a close friend doesn't die, climbing their limbs, attempting to simply grow outside the spready soil they were planted? I put a spell on you. Holly Hobby ovens, Girl Scout cookies, and Barbie dolls. Don't prepare our revolutionary daughters born with capes and wings to have a pig's knee pushed into their backs. Girls raised by wolves, taught to disappear, to be quiet, to not talk about it. How much black breath is allowed space in the state of Texas, a place that has sucked the life out of countless, miscounted, uncounted, brown, poor women die here. I got life. Sandra Bland got the death penalty for a traffic stop. Her body was 28 years young.
Okay, we can stop there. We won't show the whole thing, but I think you get a sense of the urgency around that. So, as I say, this is an opportunity to really respond to something quickly in the digital sphere in a choreographic environment. And then just moving on to the next set of slides, if we can. Yeah, so Dancing at Dusk was the other project which we entered into during this period. So the story here was that we were just about to premiere, actually in Dakar in Senegal, this work of Pina Bausch's The Writer's Spring, which is a famous, her most famous work, her interpretation of the Stravinsky score. And but this was an unusual project in that the dance was being set on African dancers, and we recruited over 38 dancers from across the African continent, and they all came together in Senegal to learn this work. So the existing work of Pina Bausch set on these dancers. But the crisis stopped the premiere in Senegal, and therefore stopped the European tour that was going to follow, including the work coming to Sadler's Wells. But luckily, just on the third run of the piece in Senegal, they decided to go down to the beach, the company, and there was a documentary filmmaker who was following the process of the creation, and he filmed a performance of The Writer's Spring on the beach here in Senegal, in this wonderful place called the Echo de Sable, which is where the dancers were training. So we had this wonderful thing. It was not perfectly. It was the third time they'd ever done it. It wasn't a perfect performance in any way, and it was interesting. In the background, there were boys playing on the beach, and people coming around with various kind of vehicles. But what it did was it captured this moment. It was a sort of at dusk, and this moment of this piece, which we were in the end not able to bring to Sadler's Wells, and the world would not been able to see it. So we decided to distribute this this piece, and we also decided that we would try to see if people would pay for this, because a lot of the material that was out there so far had been for free. So we did charge. We charged £5 per view. We had 186,000 of those views in the end. That included some distribution we did free to schools and colleges. But that was a very, very successful project. And also, it was another example of how you could quickly turn around what was a disaster into something much more kind of positive that we could share with the world. So we can stop sharing that screen now, and I'll carry on. So in addition to the digital work, which is obviously nice but not the same as live performance, we also have been doing or plan to do some socially distanced performances in in the theatre. So at the moment, with the government guidelines, you have to keep people at least 2 meters, at the most 2 meters, and at least one plus meter, they call it, apart in the auditorium. And that means that you cut down your capacity to about 30%. And in Sadler's Wells case, that means about 430 seats instead of 1,500. But we were very determined in the autumn to do some performances in that way, because we wanted, first of all, for people to start coming back to the theatre, to feel some confidence about coming back into the theatre environment. And secondly, that we wanted the dancers to have a chance to perform, because, as I say, they've also been rehearsing and practicing, and training, but not actually performing all that time. And that's very, very difficult for performers not to have something to be working towards. So we started with some performances by Birmingham Royal Ballet, and we opened those a couple of weeks ago. And it was a huge success. I mean, Birmingham managed to even get a world premiere of a new work by Will Tuckett together, because they also have restrictions, and I think Fukiko will talk a little bit more about the performing side of this later, but there are restrictions and guidelines about dancers dancing together, who can dance together, and working in bubbles, etc., and testing. But they managed this program, and it was wonderful. It was so wonderful to be back in the theatre. It showed me how much I was missing it, actually, when we came back in. But then, of course, we had other performances. In fact, we had performances planned for this very week with English National Ballet, and then we had the second lockdown. So we had to cancel this. I think one of the things that we've had to learn to be is very flexible and able to change quickly and get used to change and things being cancelled in this time. So we're now locked down until the 3rd of December, as everyone knows. But we are hoping that we still will have a chance to show some work over the Christmas period. It's an incredibly important for theatres. Usually it's our biggest income earner at the Christmas period. But of course, this year that's not the case. But we still feel it's very important that we have an offer for people and particularly for families during this Christmas period. So what we've done is we've taken the show we usually do in a small theatre, the Lillian Baylis, which is only 200 seats. It's called The Little Match Girl, and we've put this production in the main house. So it can still work within a financial envelope, but it's still a very nice offer for people during that time. So what about the future? Well, we're all hanging on to the hope of the vaccine, I have to say, because in reality, we can start going up maybe in some capacities and keep doing socially distanced performances. But in the end, if we want to get back to the kind of capacity where we can be doing the sort of thing we normally would be doing, it does depend on the vaccine being rolled out into the population. So we're thinking that we will just keep going with the socially distanced performances in the early spring of next year, and hopefully by the early summer, we might be able to get back to some sort of normal world. And so we'll have to see. I mean, very good news in the last couple of weeks, and we'll see how that develops. What have been the effects of this? It's been enormous, obviously. We've got a whole set of productions that we were supposed to do this year, and now there's a logjam of them that we have to reschedule going forward. And also, one of the things we've been doing in the last 10 years, as you heard in the introduction, was to invest in artists and make productions. And we've invested over £4 million, past £4 million worth of investment over to artists and companies in the last 10 years, so that they can make their work better. And in this environment, that's got to stop for a bit. So that's going to have a knock-on effect for the whole sector for a while, until we can start earning money again at the box office. The other huge effect on our world in this time has been on freelancers, because there's about 300,000 people involved in the in this performing arts world in the UK, and 70% of those are freelancers, so who don't work for organisations, and they have been left. Some of them have had support from some of the government schemes, but they think around 36% have had no support at all. And that's a real issue because many of those freelancers, so in other words, the dancers, lighting designers, costume designers, everyone who makes this world turn, many of them will be leaving the profession if they can't get back to some work in the future. So that's a very worrying effect of this time. Where will we be when we come out of this crisis? I think that there is an innate need in everyone, human beings, to gather together and enjoy something at the same time, a performance, a film that we need to gather. It's a human need. We will be getting back to that definitely, and we will, although we'll continue with the digital work that we're doing, and people have learned a lot in this time about engaging digitally. As this, for example, this Zoom group, this would be, I've gone from one to another and I didn't have to travel anywhere this morning. And that's very, very positive, and it means we're reaching more people. But in the end, what we do is the live experience. And I believe that once we get back to a healthy and safe environment, we need to get back to that seriously. So the new world will, I hope, look a little bit like the old one that we loved before the lockdown. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much indeed, Alistair. So let's hear from Fukiko-san what an actual dancer has been doing in this very difficult environment.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be in this chat. I would like to. It was really interesting to listen what Alistair was saying. I'm on the sort of like lower end of the pyramid in this. Still, affected a lot. But it was really interesting to hear, and it was quite motivating. Actually, because I had no idea. I know there was happening, but it was really important to listen to this. My presentation. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. With my presentation, I would like to introduce a little bit of what I did in my career, because I never really get to share this. So just maybe half of it I would like to share. I was born in New York, raised in Japan under the influence of my mother, who is also a dancer and choreographer. I have started dancing in early age. I was 2. She raised me as single parents, therefore she had taken me to where she works, like studios and theaters. As a child, I longed for that world, and I knew I will be like my mother one day. I have started choreographing when I was 14 years old, and for the dance competition, first piece I made was only like 1.5 minutes, nothing. And then became 3 minutes, 4.5 minutes as I became older. And that helped me to develop my own language, and also it was like a therapy for me. Every year I create solo and I see the growth. And then eventually I became really good at it. And then that led me to receive cultural affair fellowship from the Japanese government to study Rotterdam Codarts Dance Academy and London Contemporary Dance School. And then I joined Onryokuike Dance Company. I was there for almost 5 years. Then, yes, and then I worked for Akram Khan, Russell Malifant for the show project. Then I joined a company, Wayne McGregor. I was there for almost 8 years, actually more than 8 years. I had the most amazing time working for Wayne and his dancers. Work was extremely challenging, and we had some crazy traveling around the world. As a dancer, I can say I was very blessed to work so hard in my 20s and 30s, which made me foundation of discipline to my body, and I was able to perform more than I've dreamt for. All those memory dancing in Opera Garnier in Paris, Joyce Theatre in New York, Bolshoi Theatre in Moscow, and coming back to our home, Sadler's Wells, you are actually looking at our premiere at Sadler's Wells. It's really memorable. Like it's a really important memory for me. I'll probably talk about this as a heroic story to my kids in the future because I'm really proud of it. Since 2013, I've been working in commercial platform and featured in music video, TV program, TV commercial. For instance, Uniqlo, Toyota, Diners Club Card, as well as I was trying to extend platform to fashion and art. So you're looking at this end of line. I've collaborated with Goshu Kamakuga, composer Mira Calix, and Valerio Tabeni. This was most successful dance piece I've created in the gallery space. And we've had many shows. We premiere at the Draft David Robert Foundation for the opening Freeze Art Fair. That's where you looking at. This was the premiere. And then we've had many numbers of performances at the Lowry Gallery, Manchester. Then my most well-known video is probably music video Ingenue by Atom Supis, where I performed duet with Tommy Oak. This was in autumn 2012. We are rehearsing in Limbury Theatre, Royal Opera House. This was funny. Wayne just casually came up to me and said, "Would you like to dance with Tommy Oak?" That's how it started. So, but then at the time I had very little knowledge about Radiohead. So I had no idea what that impact will be. This video has opened up many opportunities. One of it is working with Hikaru Utada, singer-songwriter and producer, as well as nation's idol for the past 22 years in Japan. Some of her songs are my memory of youth. Automatic, her debut song, was memory of my ski trip in junior high. I was obsessed listening to Traveling, one of the tracks she made. When I was traveling around Europe on my own, auditioning for school, I was 18 then. It was my memory. It was my youth. I choreographed her music video Forevermore, which Hikaru performed contemporary dance for the first time, and I didn't make it easy for her, but she danced so well that you will never know. She's very hardworking. I was very impressed with her professionalism, and it was really inspiring getting to know her because her upbringing was very similar to mine. Her mother was a very famous singer, so she's also a second generation like my mother is, a dancer and choreographer. We both are born in USA and raised in Japan, expat living in London, so we became really good friends. Then following year, I have choreographed and performed with Hikaru for her debut 20th anniversary concert, Laughter in the Dark Door. You're looking at it now. We toured Yokohama, Fukuoka, Tottori, Nagoya, Osaka, Saitama, Tokyo for estimated 140,000 people in Japan. I was the only dancer in the show amongst all the amazing musicians dancing in the arena with music blasting and ocean of people. I felt like a rock star. This was my first job since I became independent artist in 2018 October. I chose to become an independent artist so I can focus on my choreography, but also because I wanted to explore the possibility in dance, experience completely different things from what I'm familiar with, and challenge myself to new territory and find different versions of myself as an artist and as a person. One of my most extreme experience was performing Cut Piece by Yoko Ono, which was first performed by Yoko herself 50 years ago at MoMA in New York. I had a great honor to be given an opportunity to perform this, an opening of Yoko Ono's exhibition in 2019, Ruskin Gallery, Cambridge. I'm moving on to what happened last year. So last year, I really felt like I've stepped into the role of choreographer, as well as still dancing in my own piece. One of the commissions I've had was 1001, premiere at Love Theatre, Minneapolis, USA. This work is lightly inspired by animation Ghost in the Shell, and I've challenged myself to create 30 minutes of solo. in collaboration with Emmy Award winner composer Dustin Noharo and lighting designer Dr. Yaron Yabrafia. Yeah, you're looking at it now. It's a very simple piece, body in a space with a beautiful music and a lighting. It was very successful collaboration because there was a sense of artistic understanding between us, collaborator, and were able to construct a piece together from beginning. And we all had an input in music, lighting, and dancing. Another thing is that I was in Japan at the time when I was creating this, and Dustin was in Iceland. Yaron lives in Holland. So we came together in Minneapolis only 2 days before the premiere. We all did our part and we were very successful. And this is actually done remotely before pandemic. I just realized that this is great. I have also held an audition for the first time last year in my life, first time in my life. This was in Berlin. It was strange to be on the other side of the spectrum. I used to audition and now I was auditioning. And suddenly, this was for Don Juan Techno Club, premiere in St. Katharina, Nuremberg, Germany, collaborated with two German composers, Daniel Brand and Frida Nagel. This work is inspired by opera Don Juan, created from a script written by producer Rainer Mannequin, set in techno club like Berghain in Berlin, and characters are ravers that are looking for fun night out, turning into big drama and tragedy. Audition was very important for the production because I only had 2.5 weeks to create 90 minutes piece from the scratch. And this was also first opera production I've worked on. So it was a very interesting process to find specific character in the story amongst thousands of applicants. I was extremely blessed finding 5 incredible dancers who are capable and creative and very professional. Looking back what I've done so far, I feel like I've done a lot, but at the same time, I feel I have only started the journey and there's many more things that I wanted to experience. One of the greatest quality of being dancer and choreographer is that we have no hesitation to travel, move around the globe, because that's what we are used to, and dance is universal language. I've been trying to split and balance my base between London and Tokyo for the last couple of years since I became independent artist, because I feel like I have neglected my own country. I have lived in London for 15 years. I was performing a lot all over the world, but it never reached fully to the people who supported me and encouraged me to be where I am. It's taken 2 years and finally feels balancing and makes me feel very happy to be reconnected to my roots again. I'm moving on to contemporary dance in lockdown now. Thank you for listening. I must say, I'm not proud of my behavior during the first couple of weeks of confinement. I was very heartbroken from hearing cancellation and postponed of the project and works, especially the cancellation of 1001 at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., which was programmed in March 14th. It was really painful. I was pushing myself so hard, rehearsing and running the piece every day by myself alone in studio, which is not easy at all. Like, this is 30 minutes solo. It's a really challenging piece for me. When they announced the lockdown, there was so much uncertainty, and as an artist, I was worried about my financial situation, and I had no motivation to do anything because I really thought the world was ending. So I had wasted a couple of weeks just being depressed and trapped in my room alone. Then, like many artists, I found digital platform and social media as medium to express and train. Since I was alone during the lockdown, digital platform became one of my only windows to the outside world. Work remotely to teach, collaborating, training through Zoom as a solution. One of the sweet projects I have been involved in was Keep Clapping. It's an artistic project led by Alvaro Dure, who is a dancer in Ballet de Lyon, in collaboration with artist Nuit Norris. She underlined the interdependence of our society far beyond the border and revealed our capacity to reinvent ourselves. This video proposed to keep track of this energy and continue this surge of hope as an uncertain confinement begins. Composer Jeremy Nichols first collected sound of applause to a hospital worker on the street at 8 p.m. in Lyon to create piece of music. From this sound base, Alvaro asked 10 other professional dancers who are experiencing lockdown in various Europe countries to step into their domestic stage. So we were all dancing in our house, basically, in different area of the world. And everyone has expressed themselves freely in this music composition, which is both intensely symbolic and playfully poetic. In this credit, at the end, you can see in the credit that how much we travel, the dancers, and how we are global. I'm gonna stop talking so you can listen to the music of the clapping music and. So this is one of my colleagues used to, Luis Macmillan. This is me in my room dancing. And this is Catarina Caravaggio. I used to dance with her as well. So it was a really nice sort of digital reunion for me to see the dancers I know all over the world in the same situation, but it really sort of touched my heart and realized that we are on the same boat and we are energetically connected in this universe. Yeah, so you can see like, so we had the guideline as a dancer. So you can only dance with someone in the same household or your partner. I lived alone, so I had the only choice to do solo, basically. This is Alvaro Dure. I used to dance with him as well. Yeah. I'm moving on. It's a nice video. Thank you so much. It was also opportunity to do things that in a normal life not possible. For instance, my favorite class was Cunningham class by Mass Cunningham Trust, which was on Insta Live. It was fantastic because I can take Cunningham class from Cunningham dancers in my room. I don't have to be in New York. So that was great. The most interesting experience was working with Shobana Jayasingh for R&D through Zoom. There were 6 dancers participating. I didn't know what to expect at first, but turned out it was surprisingly satisfying. And I was really inspired by her, as well as watching how other dancers are treating the task that she was giving to us. In very last session, Shobana said, I don't think we should stop dancing because the world has stopped. That word put me back on the track. They helped me to gain back my motivation to keep going. As the day passes, the weather was becoming amazing in London with the beginning of spring, and I started to build up a little structure in my pandemic life. My daily routine was cycling and write a journal in summer with a lot of nature. I would walk on the grass bare feet as well. I tried to be outside as much while respecting the guidance. I also spent some time study musicals and opera, since it's something I've always interested in choreographing or working as a movement director. It was great because I had time to watch 5 hours opera without worrying about time. Over the summer, Chisato Katsura, first artist from Rio Ballet, had organized performances at Hoxton Docks by Regent Canal. mostly on the weekend, which was called disc dancing, where artists will perform to the passerby audience. Can you play the video of Monkey Mind, please? Yes, so you can see, so I'm performing on one side of the canal, the venue, and then on the other side, there's an audience. Basically, they're just passing by. Yes. It was great because us performer had a chance to perform again, and audience were able to see live performances safely and respectfully, all the social distance measured. Everyone could get to watch for free all these amazing dancers that are most of the time performing in a big venue like Royal Ballet, Royal Opera House, or Sadler's Wells. This would have been impossible before pandemic. I've made 4 solo works on this venue so far. I was very fortunate that I had the option of being in Japan to keep working instead of staying in London, where we had almost no work and no facility to train other than in my room. I was in Japan for 2 months over the summer. Situation was so much better there. So I was able to perform and tour Yokohama, Nagano, and Kyoto in Japan with production Shiba, which is a studio performance by a number of Japanese dancers works abroad, such as Niyama Haruo from Paris Opera Ballet, Nozomi Iijima, principal dancer from Houston Ballet, Mimosa Koike, principal dancer from Monte Carlo Ballet. The audience member have chance to see super dancer in studio up close, where you would have normally seen them from far in the theater. Following the government rules, seats were distanced and compulsory to wear mask for audience, check temperature and disinfecting the hands upon arrival. Thankfully we had no infection, detention, no infection. That was great. Can you play the Mira Sarasvati video, please? I've created new solo work, Mira Sarasvati, for this production. This was second time collaborating in Japanese taiko drama, Kensaku Sato. Can you play the video? Yes. So you can see audience were wearing masks, and it's distance. Yes. So this, I want to share this because so this was second time collaborating with him, and I am basically dancing Hindu goddess Sarasvati, and Sato plays the giant taiko drum. You can see this is the biggest drum you can find. And Sarasvati rules knowledge is speech, wisdom, and learning. In Japan, she's known as Benten-sama. The performance in Togakushi, Nagano, when we premiered this piece was, so we were in basically altitude 1,200 meters up in the mountain deep. This is in the mountain. I was fighting with this blood-sucking insect during the in the training. There were so many insects, but we managed. But this place, so Sato practiced this and composed music every day. Togakushi is a very special place where many shrines in forest mountains, an important in Japanese mythology in which a sun goddess hid herself in a cave in present day. In order to get the sunlight back, the other deities try and roll sun goddess out of the cave by performing spectacular dance performance. So this was the mythology. I find it incredible that this story had passed on for 2,000 years, and I was dancing goddess of music and art on this timing in the pandemic. I felt like I was led to create and perform this piece there. I've always looked for and practiced spirituality in dance, so it really was a magical experience for me. It was a little bit strange at first to perform for masked audience. Same with teaching. we were able to be in a studio together in Japan, but we all have to wear masks. So it was difficult to understand their reaction. However, interestingly, I have started to understand the expression under the mask after a while. It's true. Eyes are window of your soul. I believe restriction in art encourages to be creative, and as we are going through pandemic together, art had played big role to heal people and inspire people to have faith in tomorrow. I do miss being in a theater when the light. For me, I want to share my favorite moment. So when the lights get dim, being in a blackout together with thousands of other souls in an auditorium, and the moment that curtain lifts up, that thrill and experience is not replaceable for me. There's nothing like it. I really hope we will be back in a theater soon and celebrate beauty of life and freedom of expression without the screen in between us. I have one great news to share, that I'm teaching tomorrow in the studio to our young dancers, which I'm very looking forward to finally being in studio and not alone. Thank you so much for listening.
Right. Well, I think I'll wrap it up there. It's more or less time. But thank you very much indeed, Fukiko-san, for sharing your experiences with us, and Alistair for telling us what's been going on and what we hope will go on in the near future at Sadler's Wells. And thank everybody very much for your questions and for joining us today.